Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, has joined MasterChef Australia as a guest judge. The lifestyle influencer, actress, wife to Prince Harry.
Meghan Markle built a second act out of jam, candles, and carefully filtered California mornings. And for a while, it genuinely worked. But 2026 has turned into a very different kind of story for the Duchess of Sussex. Her Netflix money dried up. Her brand keeps drawing ridicule online. Old bullying claims came roaring back, with fresh voices standing behind them. And even a family reunion with the king wasn't nearly as warm as it looked in the photos. Can you believe how fast the mood shifted? Stick around, because what's happening to Meghan right now is bigger than one bad headline. It's a pattern, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. The As Ever brand is losing its shine. Let's start with the thing Meghan has poured the most energy into since stepping back from royal life, her lifestyle brand, As Ever. On paper, it sounds like a dream. Jam, wine, flower sprinkles, candles, and bookmarks, all wrapped in soft beige branding and sold with a story about slowing down and savoring the little things. It launched in April 2025 alongside her Netflix cooking series With Love, Meghan, and for a moment, the two projects fed each other perfectly. A cozy show pointing viewers straight toward a cozy shop. But here's the thing about brands built on vibes: they only work if the public actually buys the vibe. And lately, people just aren't buying it the way they used to, no matter how many soft-filtered videos get posted to promote the next drop. Back in March 2026, Netflix quietly walked away from its equity partnership with As Ever, a company that had backed the brand financially since its launch in April 2025. Can you imagine building something with a partner that big, only to watch them step back a year later? Both sides put out polite statements about growth and gratitude, but industry insiders were far more blunt about the real reason behind it. Her cooking series simply didn't pull in the numbers Netflix wanted, with the second season reportedly landing around 2 million views and missing the platform's top charts entirely. When a show doesn't get renewed, the business deals wrapped around it tend to quietly unravel too. That exit didn't happen in isolation either. It capped off a rocky stretch for a relationship that started with a splashy $100 million production deal back in 2020, one of the biggest talent agreements Netflix had ever signed. That money produced a record-breaking documentary and a handful of follow-up projects. But by the summer of 2025, Netflix had already downgraded the overall arrangement to a lighter first-look deal for Archewell Productions. So when the As Ever partnership ended too, less than a year after Meghan publicly celebrated expanding it, the whole thing read less like a single business decision and more like the final piece of a much longer retreat. And it's not just the corporate side that's been rough. Every single product dropped this year seems to spark the exact same wave of criticism. In May, Meghan released a $64 anniversary candle named after her wedding date to mark 8 years of marriage to Prince Harry. And instead of warm reactions, she got accused of turning a private milestone into a sales pitch, with critics tossing around words like greedy in the comments underneath her own posts. A few months later, she teased a new matchbox stamped with the As Ever logo, and the internet lit up again. This time with the now familiar accusation that she's simply out of touch with everyday people, paying everyday grocery prices for jam and candles. Even her holiday marketing hasn't been safe from the pile on. Back in November, a beige and neutral-toned Christmas collection got mocked heavily online, with people pointing out the irony given her own past comments criticizing royal fashion rules around muted color palettes. It's a small detail on its own, but stacked next to everything else, it shows just how little goodwill she has left in the court of public opinion right now. Every choice, no matter how minor it seems, gets picked apart within hours of posting. There's also the matter of inventory. Reports earlier this year pointed to thousands of unsold as-ever boxes reportedly sitting in warehouses, even as Meghan pushed forward with a rebrand featuring warmer filters and softer lettering, an attempt to give the whole operation a fresh coat of paint, without addressing the deeper question of whether demand actually matches supply. She has continued showing up at high-profile business events too, including an appearance at the Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit in October 2025, where she spoke about entrepreneurship and building something entirely her own from the ground up. The message stays consistent, even when the results don't. Meghan wants to be seen as a serious founder rather than a former actress cashing in on a royal title, and every stumble this year makes that particular argument a little harder to sell to a skeptical public. So, while Meghan and her team keep insisting As Ever is ready to stand entirely on its own, the pattern running through 2026 tells a slightly different story, one of a brand fighting for relevance, one controversy at a time, even as she teased on Instagram this week that something new is arriving soon for late summer, a small hint of blackberries and jam that suggests she has no plans to slow the product pipeline down anytime soon, criticism or not. Now here's where things get even messier, because it isn't only the business side drawing fire this year. Old accusations about how Meghan treats the people working around her have found new life in 2026, and they're hitting at the worst possible moments. Former claims about tense workplace dynamics, high staff turnover, and reports of difficult interactions have resurfaced across news stories and social media, prompting renewed public debate. Although many of these allegations date back several years and remain disputed, their return has added fresh pressure just as she works to expand her business ventures and public profile. Whether fair or not, the timing has ensured that every new project is being viewed through the lens of those lingering controversies, making it even harder to move the conversation forward. Bullying claims refuse to stay buried. If you thought the bullying allegations from Meghan's royal years had quietly faded into the past, think again, because these claims keep resurfacing almost like clockwork, and always right when she needs good press the most. The origin story goes back to 2018, when Jason Knauf, who worked as communications secretary for Meghan and Harry, raised formal concerns with Palace Human Resources that Meghan had pushed two personal assistants out of the household through her treatment of them. Those internal complaints stayed private for years until they leaked publicly in 2021, right before Meghan and Harry sat down for their tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey. It was already a bombshell back then. But in 2026, Knauf went on Australian television and made it clear he isn't backing down from any of it. Speaking on a televised interview, he confirmed he stands by every word of the original allegations, telling viewers he wouldn't change a single thing about how he handled the situation at the time. Think about that for a second. Years have passed. Meghan has built an entirely new life on the other side of the world, and yet a former palace aide is still willing to go on camera and defend claims that could seriously damage her reputation all over again. That's not nothing. That's someone who clearly feels strongly enough about what happened to keep saying it out loud, publicly, on record. And just when that old wound seemed to finally settle, a fresh version of the same story popped up in the most unexpected place imaginable, an Australian cooking show. Meghan filmed a guest judge appearance on MasterChef Australia back in April during her and Harry's trip down under, sitting alongside judges Po Ling Yao, Sophia Levin, and Jean-Christophe Novelli for a challenge built around a dish fit for a duchess, using ingredients like Australian honey, macadamia nuts, celeriac, and edible flowers. The episode finally aired in late July 2026. But before it even hit screens, reports started swirling that things behind the scenes weren't nearly as friendly as the promotional clips made them look. Australian outlets reported that tension reportedly built when contestants kept turning to Judge Po Ling Yao for feedback and reassurance instead of directing their attention toward Meghan, leaving the atmosphere noticeably awkward on set at times. Things apparently got worse when Yao introduced Meghan using the word royalty in a promo clip, despite reportedly being asked beforehand not to, which allegedly left Meghan's team frustrated. And reports even used the word bullying to describe how Meghan allegedly handled parts of that tension, a word that, fair or not, seems to attach itself to nearly every new project she takes on now. Her team, of course, pushed back hard, with an insider insisting to people that everyone on set had a great time together and that claims of behind-the-scenes tension were simply false. A body language expert who reviewed the aired footage afterward went a different direction entirely, suggesting Meghan appeared to be balancing two competing public personas throughout the episode, part relatable home cook and part royal figure still performing for cameras, a mix the expert described as coming across almost like cosplay rather than genuine ease. Maybe none of it is true. Maybe it really is just noise generated by tabloids hungry for a new angle on an old story. But the fact that the word bullying attaches itself so easily to Meghan's name, years after the original palace claims first surfaced, says something about how fragile her public image has become. Even a light-hearted cooking segment built around honey and macadamia nuts turned into another headline she had to publicly defend herself against. It's worth pointing out that none of this happened in a vacuum. Meghan has spent years positioning herself publicly as an advocate against online cruelty and bullying in all its forms, which makes every fresh accusation land with a little more sting than it might for someone without that particular history. Critics are quick to point out the contrast, while supporters argue the claims are recycled tabloid fodder designed to follow her wherever she goes. Either way, the label keeps sticking. And sticking labels are hard to shake once they've attached themselves to a public figure this closely watched. That brings us to something even harder to spin away with a friendly statement: the actual state of her family relationships back in Britain, which have taken their own hits this year. The royal rift keeps getting wider. Here's the part of this story that stings the most, because no amount of clever branding can fix a genuinely broken family relationship. And 2026 has shown, again and again, that the gap between Meghan and the royal family isn't closing anytime soon, no matter how many olive branches get extended in public statements or carefully worded Instagram captions. Take the moment in June when Meghan reportedly sent a lavish as-ever gift package, complete with her famous flower sprinkles, honey, and a set of pricey scented candles, to a social media user known for publicly slamming Prince William and Princess Kate online. The gesture sparked immediate backlash across social media, with critics pointing out the irony of someone who has spoken openly and often about the dangers of online bullying appearing to reward a persistent royal critic with expensive gifts. Whether or not Meghan meant anything by it personally, the optics were rough, especially set against reports suggesting Kate has genuinely wanted to repair the fractured relationship between the two brothers. Then in July, a set of family photos taken near Princess Diana's grave at Althorp stirred up its own separate storm online. Critics questioned the appropriateness of sharing such intimate images from such a personal, almost sacred location, reigniting debate over where exactly Meghan draws the line between private grief and public content for her millions of followers. For a family that has spent years asking the world for privacy and space, moments like this keep handing critics fresh ammunition to argue the exact opposite is happening. And even the reunions that were supposed to feel warm haven't fully delivered on that promise either. When Meghan finally returned to the United Kingdom this July with Archie and Lilibet in tow, the family met privately with King Charles and Queen Camilla at Highgrove House, marking their first visit to England together in 4 years. It should have been an easy, heartwarming milestone for royal watchers to celebrate. Instead, Commentators quickly noted the reunion wasn't entirely warm behind closed doors, with tension involving Prince William reportedly still simmering underneath the surface throughout. So even the good news this year comes wrapped in a reminder that these particular wounds haven't fully healed. None of this is happening quietly either. Every gift, every photo, every family visit gets dissected in real time by royal watchers hunting for the next sign of conflict. And right now, there's simply no shortage of material for them to work with on any given week. Add in the ongoing question of Prince Harry's security arrangements, which he has previously described as impossible to resolve without proper protection for Meghan and the children, and you start to see why even a short private visit to Highgrove gets treated like a major diplomatic event rather than a simple family catch-up. Every logistical detail, from who greets whom at the door to how long the visit lasts, becomes another data point for commentators trying to measure exactly how far the relationship has or hasn't come. Which leads us to the biggest question hanging over Meghan's entire year: whether any of this actually sets her up for the comeback her camp is reportedly planning, or whether it's just digging the hole a little deeper each time. A comeback attempt under heavy scrutiny. So where does all of this leave Meghan heading into the back half of 2026? If insiders close to her are to be believed, she isn't backing down at all. And she isn't quietly retreating from public life either. She's reportedly doubling down instead, betting that visibility and confidence will eventually outweigh the steady drip of unflattering stories. Reports suggest Meghan feels newly emboldened following the recent controversy surrounding Prince Andrew, with sources claiming she sees it as a kind of vindication for concerns she and Harry raised years ago about how the institution handles its own internal problems. Friends have reportedly described her mindset using the phrase that she wants to show the British public what they threw away, framing any potential return not as an apology tour, but as a confident reintroduction on her own terms. And a fuller return really does appear to be somewhere on the table now. Her trip to Britain in July, alongside Archie and Lilibet, was widely read by royal watchers as something of a test run, with Prince Harry's long-running security review still hanging directly over the timing of any bigger, more public comeback down the line. There's also plenty of chatter that any future visit would come loaded with careful styling and image planning, reportedly built around leading stylists and designers working to put together what insiders are calling the best wardrobe ever seen on a British royal, an attempt to reshape a narrative that, based on everything that's happened this year, badly needs reshaping before she steps back into that spotlight for good. It's worth remembering, too, that this wouldn't be Meghan's first attempt at rewriting public perception through sheer visibility. From the Tig blog years ago, through the Oprah interview, through Harry and Meghan on Netflix, through With Love Meghan, and now through As Ever, the pattern has always been the same. Control the story by telling more of it herself rather than less. The question in 2026 is whether that strategy still works when so much of the storytelling keeps getting undercut by headlines she didn't write and can't fully control. But here's the reality check nobody around Meghan seems eager to say out loud just yet. Confidence only really works if the public is willing to meet it halfway. And right now, that's far from guaranteed. Her lifestyle brand keeps stumbling into fresh backlash with almost every launch. Old bullying claims keep resurfacing with new, credible voices standing behind them on camera. Her relationship with the royal family remains visibly strained, even during moments that were clearly meant to look like genuine progress for the cameras. Polling on both sides of the Atlantic has repeatedly suggested William and Kate remain considerably more popular than Meghan and Harry, which makes any grand re-entrance a genuinely risky bet for everyone involved, financially and personally. Maybe Meghan pulls it off anyway. Maybe the British public really does warm back up once she's standing on home soil again for good. Cameras rolling, wardrobe perfect, message polished. Stranger comebacks have absolutely happened before in royal history, and public opinion has a way of shifting faster than anyone expects once a new narrative takes hold. But based on everything that's unfolded so far in 2026, from a cancelled corporate partnership to resurfaced bullying claims to a family reunion that wasn't quite warm enough behind the scenes, it's fair to say Meghan Markle isn't just making headlines this year. She's fighting hard, on multiple fronts at once, to control what those headlines actually say about her. And so far, that particular fight is far from won. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.